Larry was just 8 when he learned that silence could shatter a world. No thunderous storms raged outside, no volatile arguments erupted in the kitchen, and no glass shattered to punctuate the tragedy. Instead, he witnessed the profound quiet between his parents, a disheartening silence filled with unspoken words. This unnatural calm felt like a dark cloud that smothered him, whispering that love had morphed into something awkward and distant. An artist's masterpiece gone awry. At the dining table, young Larry sat tracing circles on his plate with a fork, the rhythmic clinking echoing louder than the suffocating silence. The tension was palpable as his mother and father exchanged carefully measured phrases, the kind meant to avoid a fight. Yet deep down, he could sense that something monumental was unraveling. For an 8-year-old, the absence of shouting was unsettling. It meant that love had turned ice cold and that his family was no longer a united front. Hey everyone, welcome to Psychologist Jeep, the quiet corner of the internet for people who grew up a little too fast. This space is for you, the children of divorced parents who had to build their own version of home from broken pieces. Here, we don't point fingers. We try to understand what that kind of love does to the way we trust, connect, and see ourselves. If this resonates with you, please like the video, share it with someone who'll understand, and drop a comment below telling us where you're watching from. When the fateful announcement came, we're going to live in different homes, Larry's heart flipped like a pancake. He nodded in a way that tricked everyone into thinking he understood. But the truth was a complete puzzle to him. How could a child grasp that two people who once promised infinity were now scribbling out their vows and penning new tales beyond each other? Larry represented more than just himself. He symbolized millions of kids grappling with their parents parting as if it were a harsh lesson in math they never signed up for. Amidst the statistics, Larry's reality was raw. Research shows that kids of divorced parents often swim in insecurity and anxiety, carrying the burden of divided loyalties. But numbers fail to echo the restless beating of a heart like Larry's lying awake at night, worried about picking teams in a game he never wanted to play. His world was filled with questions that hovered just out of reach, clouding his youthful spark with a fog of sadness and longing. Fast forward to a normal Friday evening, and there was Larry getting ready to stay at his dad's house. His small backpack was more than just practical items. It carried a weight that no one could see. Should he mention to his dad that his mom bought him a cool new sweater, or confess that his dad made the best pancakes? Even at such a tender age, he was already navigating a minefield of emotions, editing his happiness lest it sting someone else. Inside Larry's young mind, a silent war raged, a loyalty conflict. He wanted to love both parents openly, yet feared that in doing so, he might betray one. These complex feelings rarely found their way into words. Instead, they rested quietly on his small shoulders, like an invisible backpack packed with the sorrow of a child caught between two worlds colliding. As time marched on, by the age of 12, Larry was a pro at reading the emotional climate in both homes. At his mom's, he learned to tiptoe around the subject of his father, gauging when it was safe to tread. At his dad's, he inflated his school achievements, believing it might ease the guilt bubbling beneath his father's smile. This instinctive ability to adapt was no accident. Studies reveal that kids of divorce fine-tune their radar for emotional cues, becoming adept watchers and listeners, skilled interpreters of sighs and silences. In a world where love feels conditional, Larry carefully navigates through a labyrinth of emotions, learning that every moment shared carries a weight. The complexity of his experience highlights a broader truth. Children are not merely products of their parents' choices, but resilient explorers, winding their way through a landscape marked by pain yet also illuminated by hope. Each day, they strive to learn how to balance between worlds that seem forever apart, seeking to find their own place within the messiness of love and loss. Growing up under the shadow of divorce can set off a whirlwind of emotions in a child's heart, making them feel the world around them is precarious. Imagine little Larry learning that love isn't a guarantee but a conditional arrangement. This environment fosters a sense of hypervigilance, teaching kids that peace might just shatter without warning. Emotions run high, and in that kind of atmosphere, they can't help but look at themselves and their relationships through a lens of uncertainty. But here comes the plot twist. Despite wrestling with these feelings, many children like Larry emerge as resilient adults. Why? Because life's little cracks sculpt them into adapters of change and masters of juggling life's unfolding complexities. Larry, for instance, finds himself in high school providing sage advice to friends wrestling with their own battles, all because he's intimately familiar with the silence that often hides pain. Kids who grow up in this scenario transform their hardships into unexpected wisdom, proving that sometimes scars can glow with authenticity. Nevertheless, the emotional baggage doesn't just vaporize. Kids like Larry often grapple with notions of permanence. They may ponder questions like, if my parents didn't withstand the test of time, how can my relationships? These queries can bounce around in the back of their minds, silently surfacing in moments that should be full of joy, like when Larry is on a date, grappling with the fear of repeating the past. These inner dialogues can make love feel like walking a tightrope without a safety net. Here's where the beauty of psychology unfurls its wings. Research suggests awareness can ultimately help break those dastardly cycles of doubt. Living in a divorced household definitely doesn't doom you to repeat history. In fact, those who confront and come to terms with their pasts often determine to cultivate healthy, stable relationships. They've learned communication is crucial, a skill often gained from living with silence. Love, they realize, needs tending, much like a fruit tree, where neglect leads to sour fruit. Before we barrel ahead, let's hit rewind and revisit little Larry again. Try as he might, he often thought, did I cause this mess? It's a universal pattern for kids, especially under 10, to bear the weight of guilt that isn't theirs to carry. Larry carried this heavy thought for a long time until one enlightening chat with a school counselor led him to a revelation. The simple truth emerged. He wasn't the builder of this collapse. He was merely a witness to a whirlwind he couldn't control. Sometimes, healing arrives not in grand gestures but from those words we often fail to voice ourselves. It's this clarity that lingers in a young heart, gently reminding us that we're not alone in our struggles. Larry's narrative serves as a reflection for many. While we might not share his specific experience, we all know the flavor of separation, be it a lost friendship or the fading echoes of brighter days. These experiences serve as life's little tugs, reminding us how deeply we crave connection. Larry's story echoes a universal truth about children of divorce. They're both tender and tenacious. They yearn for stability after experiencing its disappearance. Their caution often translates into a superpower, granting them insight into the workings of relationships that others may take for granted. When it comes to love, they don't just want to float along, they crave the solid ground of reliability. Their resilience shapes them into experts in the messy labyrinth of human connection. Larry's journey embodies the universal complexities many children of divorce face. Picture him lying in the dim light of his father's old room, staring at the ceiling and pondering if his mother secretly missed him. Then he'd find himself at his mom's place, wondering if his dad felt that emptiness too. It's a heavy weight to carry, belonging to two worlds yet feeling quite misplaced. This internal tug-of-war paints a vivid picture of a life steeped in emotional depth and challenge. Surprisingly, this duality doesn't just burden kids like Larry, it often cultivates their empathy. Instinctively, they become bridge builders, navigating conversations with the grace of a diplomat. They soften harsh words and smooth out misunderstandings like skilled baristas frothing the perfect cappuccino. Yet this gift comes with a hefty price and ingrained fear of conflict. It's a lifelong dance of avoidance, like a high-stakes game of Jenga, trying to prevent the tower from collapsing. But here's the twist. What if that longing to connect could be flipped to the other side? Instead of a life defined by scars, it could evolve into a story of strength. Larry's experiences, while marked by the pain of divorce, also presented him with a unique canvas to paint resilience and redefine love. It's a reminder that children of divorced parents are not doomed to a fate of heartache. They are granted an opportunity to reimagine what it means to love and be loved. As Larry transitioned into adulthood, he carried a rich tapestry of wisdom and wounds. Yes, trust issues lurked like uninvited house guests, yet so did his insights about presence. He understood the beauty wrapped in moments of connection. The determination bubbled beneath his surface. If love is fragile, then it deserves to be cherished, not tossed aside. This perspective marks the real turning point. It's about what kids like Larry make from the endurance of their upbringing, like turning lemons into a refreshing lemonade on a scorching day. Once, in a hushed tone that suggested vulnerability, Larry confessed to a friend, "I feel like I belong everywhere and nowhere." This haunting phrase resonates deeply for many children of divorce. They navigate two homes but sometimes feel rootless, constantly adjusting like a well-worn suitcase. While adults focus on the logistics of parenting schedules, for these kids, the symbolism runs deeper. It's about the shifting concept of home. Psychologists have a term for this struggle: dual identity strain. It captures the emotional gymnastics kids perform when adapting to two different environments. Larry's dad enforced strict bedtimes, while his mother let him stay up reading. With such diverse expectations, he had to become adaptable, a shape-shifting chameleon. On the surface, his flexibility seemed enviable, but underneath swirled existential questions. Who is the real me? Which side do I embody? The search for identity is a riveting theme for kids dealing with divorce. Stability feels like a mirage in a desert, one moment close, the next evaporating into thin air. As Larry traversed these emotional landscapes, the fascinating truth emerges. The quest for self in this fractured world can lead to incredible revelations. Children like him might find their identity not in the separation but in the synthesis of their experiences, combining lessons into something richly profound. Many children navigate the rocky terrain of their parents' struggles, and in doing so, they sculpt a unique identity shaped by duality. Think about it. Growing up with contrasting viewpoints on life, love, and problem-solving equips kids like Larry with a supercharged lens through which they see the world. His father instilled discipline, while his mother poured in compassion. What at first appeared to be a confusing clash eventually morphed into a harmonious integration that sculpted Larry's adult character. However, that integration didn't come without its hiccups. Larry had moments of utter terror when it came to relationships. The tiniest spats between couples would whisk him back to the hushed, creeping disconnect between his parents. In those moments, he'd frequently bolt from budding connections not out of indifference, but from an overwhelming love that was also steeped in fear. Larry's subconscious muttered a mantra: better to jump ship than to be left floundering. And he wasn't alone. Countless children of divorced parents share this echoing anxiety. Despite the fears swirling in his heart, Larry would come to realize that fragility doesn't doom love. It can still be as sturdy as your grandma's china, provided it's treated right. He came to understand that awareness was the key to unlocking his heart. Initially, it involved noticing patterns he had settled into, like bracing himself for inevitable rejection. Once he acknowledged this, Larry began to shift gears and discovered that trust doesn't come gift-wrapped with guarantees. It thrives on the brave choice of vulnerability, even when the future looked foggy. But let's not just spotlight Larry, let's broaden the scope. Research reveals a tapestry of both weaknesses and strengths within children of divorce. They might struggle with schoolwork, anxiety, or forging lasting connections initially. Yet, this very experience often gives them remarkable empathy, adaptability, and problem-solving prowess. Some even earn the title Old Souls, having learned early that life exists in shades of grey, not just black and white. A heartfelt thought, resilience, doesn't sprout in comfort zones. It blossoms in the messy, challenging cracks life brings. Larry's own cracks cultivated an innate ability to listen deeply, sensing when others were sufferers beneath their silent smiles. As a child, his own hush had sharpened his perception about the unvoiced pains of others. But here's the twist. While empathy is a powerful skill, it wasn't the end of Larry's journey. Eventually, he would have to come face to face with his inner child, the one still tugging at his heartstrings, quietly questioning if he had played a role in the painful fallout. Therapy, honest words exchanged, and the most important ingredient, time, became Larry's allies. Each passing year peeled back layers of guilt, revealing a liberating truth. Divorce wasn't a reflection of his worth or a blemish on his upbringing. Instead, it was a narrative about two imperfect adults doing their best to navigate their own labyrinths. Larry wasn't the architect of the turmoil, he was simply a witness. And this vital realization paved the way for a newfound freedom from the suffocating weight he had carried for so long. Children burdened with guilt often grow up feeling the need to patch everything up, striving to keep the peace at all costs. It's like they carry a magic wand, but instead of casting happy spells, they swing it around trying to fix the world. They end up overcompensating for their past, yearning to assuage every possible conflict. However, when the light bulb finally flicks on and they realize their parents' choices weren't their fault, a spark of freedom ignites within them. When Larry fell in love, those old demons of fear crept in like uninvited guests at a dinner party. He worried about heartbreak repeating itself, imagining promises dissipating into thin air. But this time, he took a bold step and opted for honesty over hiding. He opened up to his partner about his childhood, the jarring shifts between homes, the loyalty pull, and the lingering questions that still haunted him. And surprisingly, instead of running for the hills, his partner leaned in and listened. In that crucial moment, a remarkable shift began. This listening wasn't just an act of kindness, it was transformational. Children of divorce, like Larry, can offer society a treasure trove of insights. They understand how paralyzing silence can be and, as a result, appreciate the beauty of voicing their truths. They've experienced the burden of unresolved feelings, turning them into compelling storytellers on a quest for closure. Larry's journey demonstrates the essence of what psychologists call post-traumatic growth, how struggles can stretch a person's capacity for connection, meaning, and purpose. Cast your mind back to young Larry, lying under the covers, contemplating the endurance of love. That foundational question never fully vanishes, but it evolves. Instead of pondering, does love last? He learns to ask, can I embrace love for its duration? Doesn't that resonate with everyone? Whether our family trees are gnarled or straight, we all crave love and fear its loss. In Larry's evolution, we see the transformation from fragility to wisdom. The scars of his past aren't marks of brokenness, they're paths to empathy and commitment. Those very scars can serve as guides, ushering him toward building authentic relationships that he previously feared were an illusion. Children of divorce grasp a profound truth. Love isn't a guarantee, but that's what makes it sacred. Stability isn't a given, yet it becomes something worth safeguarding. When they summon the courage to love, they do so with their eyes wide open. Gone is the naivete, replaced by a mindful dedication to commitment. So rather than just picturing young Larry at the dinner table, lost in a smattering of confusion, envision the man he grew into. He understands the significance of presence and embodies active listening, committed not because it's effortless, but because he recognizes the weight of fading devotion. The tale of children from broken families is more than a tragedy. It's a narrative of resilience that reminds us that from division, unity can blossom, strength can rise from fragility, and voices can emerge from silence. Children like Larry may teach us that love isn't about achieving perfection. It's about the unwavering choice to keep loving again and again, especially when it feels precarious. And therein lies the beautiful, invaluable gift encased within their pain, a lesson on the unpredictable, yet precious, nature of love.